All right, so these are two pieces from the suite of 5 that I worked on before I came to Fresh Milk, before I came here to do the residency. And they're essentially targets. And what I did is I took the found image of the banker from Bear Stearns, the unnamed banker, and I just cropped parts of the image and abstracted it and created these concentric circles that represented the bullseye. And you can write in your name if you like, print these out, take them to the firing range, stick them up in your office, throw darts and put pins in there, draw smiley faces. It's up to you. And what I did was I just took elements from, or I focused on elements from the actual image. So you have the double-breasted suit with the shirt revealed, and then you have the double chin that is actually a requirement for CEOs and chairmen, I'm pretty sure. And then I have other elements that I have in the series, but I just showed 2 from that series, so the focus would be on what I really produced during the residency. So yeah, the base color in these pieces comes from the Financial Times newspaper, and I just copied the color and used it as a background. I felt that it's such an iconic color. You have similar hues in the Wall Street Journal and other business papers. Even in Barbados, we have a slightly redder, darker peach. Yeah, so when I came to Fresh Milk, I brought an origami book with me, and I really wanted to challenge myself because I'm not a very hands-on person. I wanted to challenge myself with this new medium, folding paper, and working in this atmosphere too, since it was so quiet and peaceful and you're in the middle of the Barbadian countryside. It allowed me to just really slow things down and work out where I wanted the project to go, especially since I wanted to incorporate text. And I found that the origami patterns in the book that I brought with me, which is very beautiful, and there's a lot of symmetry because the nature of origami is all based off of symmetry. And being in this atmosphere surrounded by all this vegetation, it's just like being surrounded by fractals. And I felt really inspired by that. And in my research regarding the whole banking scandals and the financial crisis of 2008, I found all these buzzwords and interesting phrases. I just really wanted to present that. So what I did was I created an algorithm for my text, for the copy. And that meant making my own typography within these base pattern structures of the origami. So this is actually a doubled fish fold, I think. So yeah, these pieces are gold pen with ruler, and I wanted to create my own typography, you can say, and I needed an algorithm so that it all fit in. So I would start with a phrase, and then I would just break it down to the base elements, and see how I can space it out. So I meant creating an algorithm, measuring out all of my decisions, but starting on a smaller piece of paper, about a quarter the size, and practicing the folds, and then building up to laying in the text. So here we have a phrase, completely abstracted, that reads, "If they can fog a mirror," over here. And then on the sides, fund them. So you have FUNDEM. And that relates to supposedly the CEO of Countrywide, mortgage-backed originator. They were just funding everybody who needed a loan for a house or didn't need a loan for a house. It didn't matter. They were just pushing all the loans through. And these subprime mortgages, when you move over here to the center, which is actually the first piece I did in the series, these are just the letter A mirrored and flipped. So these represent the AAA rating that these mortgage-backed securities received. And on the right, you have a phrase, "piece of shit," that relates to internal emails where Bear Stearns actually, their employees referred to these subprime mortgages, these securities, as a piece of shit. So altogether it reads, "If they can fog a mirror, fund them a piece of shit. And through this process is only after I tested it out and started to fill in part of these designs that I realized I would see how these shapes would be revealed, and they resembled targets just like the earlier work I produced in a more roundabout way, but everything just kind of came back to the targets, and the piece of shit ending up as reading as a sun was a kind of happy gift to myself unexpectedly.
So can you tell us a little bit about this final piece and as a collaborative work, and also the big shift that happened in terms of you working outside of your comfort zone as a photographer?
Sure. This piece is a collaboration between Elena Branker and myself. She's a local designer here in Barbados. And it's really a departure from anything I've done before. And it's a pretty good feeling. Going into Fresh Milk, I knew that I would have the freedom to do anything I wanted to do, and I would have some financial support, and I could also pull from the local community. So I reached out to my friend who's the designer and came up with this vest where I would slip Bear Stearns playing cards into these pockets. And it wasn't really about Bear Stearns. I just had the playing cards. It was about the financial institution and the power of the financial institution. And it relates to the HSBC case, where they were recently fined about $1.9 billion by the US government. And that was because they were bankrolling or laundering money for drug cartels and sponsors of terrorism. So I felt that it was quite fitting to come up with a nice breathable linen vest where you can slip in these cards, and it could be anything, but it was all about revealing and concealing, or more like revealing from thin air, perhaps, to the viewer's eye, like a sleight of hand. But where it comes back to Bear Stearns is that their former chairman, Ace Greenberg, he is a amateur magician. I thought that was quite apt for the whole series, just to bring that idea of magician bankers, because they can't often act as magicians in the first place.